Family. It's been a minute. Take time to get back in the flow when they knock your channel down sometimes. Because you get hype at certain times and can't do nothing when you're ready. But that's all right. So in this video, for those of you who have been following Dr. Enqi, it's not on his old page where it said Dr. Enqi. There's like he's got like 2 or 3 other pages now. Um, if you guys are following him. Yo, Mike Carter in the building. Um, if you been following Dr. Enqi for at least the past week or so, then you knew that on Saturday that just passed, he was doing a large diabetes lecture, so to speak, right, or session. And it turned out to be about 11 and a half hours. And obviously, if you take the some of the music and the fluff off of it, then it won't come down much shorter than that. You might be able to chop off maybe 40 minutes. I'd say that. Moon Rocket got 40 minutes left. I just finished the last 40 minutes 40 minutes ago. So yeah, I feel you. When he first did the session that first day, I saw not straight, but like behind throughout the day, I saw about 6 hours of it. And then throughout the week, because like as like a side hustle, like to pay some student loans, I do Uber like on outside of the photography and the personal training and all that. I'll do Uber and I'll do deliveries sometimes. And when I'm doing deliveries, I can listen to whatever I want to. So I can pick up part of the lecture while I'm doing deliveries or while I'm waiting for another ride. Or sometimes when I'm going to do photography at schools, when I'm not live, I'll be listening to the rest of the video. I still got more to catch up on. For those who haven't been following, KT did a Patreon. I got to catch up on that at the same time. Dr. Enqi, after the 11-hour lecture, you still have the Enqi cycle video, which is an hour and 16, plus another 5-hour food-based video on what they eat, which is related to the diabetes video. So I'll probably download those later on and catch them at a certain point. I do, of course, get the advantage of taking his God Complex course years ago, which is when you hear him talking about me as one of his students. That's where that came from. I took the God Body Complex course. Then right after that, he was coming out with Living Biochemistry, which was a 2-year course, and I'm still connected with about 5 friends from there. Some of them be in the chat, and y'all don't even know. But we used to meet up even after the class was over. We used to meet up on Saturdays on a regular chat talking about stuff that went on was in the classes. So yeah, that's the connection generally that you hear if you hear Enqi mention my name. It was all the classes I took, and I didn't just take the classes for the info giving. Like I'm one of those people who I study info with the intent to have at least an understanding for myself on how to use it confidently. So if I don't have something confidently, I'll tell you up front. And obviously in the health world, it's not as strong as like in the art world for me. In the art world, you ask me to do photography, video, editing, graphic design, drawing, and painting. That's a no-brainer for me. Those are things that come right out. When it comes to health, it's so broad. I like to deal with general information and situations I've dealt with, like cholesterol, high blood pressure, and diabetes. So I talk a lot about those. So the diabetes lecture is right up my alley. I was more watching it for the ability to see how well the info I learned held up, and for the stuff that I went on my own and talked about in the past, how well did it stack up? Because for those of you who actually look at all my old videos, now you figure it says I have about 590 something subscribers, right? The original video I did a year ago with the about it's not called diabetes, it's called the sugar dilemma, explaining A1C and stuff like that. It's like how to deal with sugar. It was what the name of the video was called, and it's still up. It's still on my page if you scroll through. Most people don't do that, but when you go to someone's page, you don't have to look at the videos the way they're ordered for you. You just click the word video up top out of all the categories, and then it lays them in order. And then you could just scroll down mine and go straight to the ones. It's called A Few Minutes for Health. Somebody asked me, man, about a year and a half ago, they was like, yo, do you think you could reduce some of your videos down for people who don't have a lot of time to below 10 minutes, maybe 5, maybe 8 minutes, something like that? And I said, I'll do the best I can, because obviously somebody's not going to get an entire lay of how to deal totally with any of those situations in a matter of a few minutes. But at the very least, it can set their mindset on what they're going to be aiming to do. And then after that, they can fine tune the details. So the 11-hour lecture was pretty much all of the blanket details, including studies on why reversing diabetes is done a certain way. And you also get to learn about where your doctor comes in and where your doctor doesn't come in. So I would say for those of you who have not even started watching the 11-hour video yet, go back to my video because it's only 7 minutes long, giving you an overview. And it's called dealing with sugar issues. It's not called diabetes. It just says how to deal with sugar, a few minutes for health. And all of the quick health videos have the same card on the front. They just have a different title. So it's like white over here with red writing. And then on the other side, you'll see a picture of me with like a blue background. So there's like a layer of those videos, maybe probably about 5 or 6 of them that I did because people wanted a quick explanation of things. So I went back to that. Dr. Enqi also uploaded my event that me and him did in Philadelphia. And if you look at that event, you'll notice throughout the 11 hours, there's a lot of stuff. Most people don't know. We didn't coordinate for that event. It was originally called the Philadelphia Experiment by Enqi. We did not coordinate how we did that event. He just said, whatever I had, get it out. And then when he gonna get his thing out. So there was no planning in that event. And there was 2 things that I keyed in on. There's probably other things, but there was 2 things at the event that I noticed that I had said based on my own studies and all the things that came before it, which of course was partially from him. There were certain things that I came to determinations on my own with all that study that I put in my side of the lecture that he actually brought up in his side of the lecture. So one of them was grass generally recognized as safe. You'll hear that topic repeated in my section and in Enqi's section of that lecture that we did together. The other part that you'll hear is I actually mentioned how just because you can't see light doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Because when we talk about the electromagnetic spectrum, which is it's black and then it's the rainbow of colors and it's black again on the high side, I was telling people the different senses is for picking up different frequencies, and all frequencies present some sort of light. So whether it's down there in the microwave end and all the way back, what we use for Wi-Fi and all that, there are certain wavelengths of light we can't see. That's why it's a tiny one in the middle called the visible spectrum that only our eyes can see. It does not mean light doesn't exist outside of that. It's just that the tolerance for our eyes don't pick that up. So we have other things that pick up those senses. Our ears will pick up some frequencies that are too high or too low, but in the audio range. And then smells and then taste. Those are different types of frequencies that eyes don't pick up. So, and then there's also, like, for instance, I think I gave this example before. If you blow like a dog whistle, if I had you sitting in a room with no sound for a long period of time and I blow a dog whistle, you'll know it went off. But in the middle of a crowded room, if I blow a dog whistle, you will not know because the threshold of hearing isn't strong enough for that. It's for dogs. So different thresholds of hearing, different thresholds of stuff for different thing. Moonrocker, yeah, I know. Yeah, I figured you saw that joint, right? You watched it at 1.5x. Yeah, because you get to hear the chipmunk voice. I think if at that speed it goes to the chipmunk voice. So but yeah, peace to the people who are showing up in the chat room. Say hi, let us know you're in the building. Some of y'all probably watching from work if you're still at work. I always do this when I'm in the car, when I'm outside the laundromat, dropping off some clothes or whatever, waiting for those to get done. So that's when I usually like to go live. Other than that, I prefer to be in front of my computer. But yeah, so yeah, on my page, go check out the 8-minute video I have about dealing with sugar issues, and it's from a year ago, so you got to go back to find it. And after you do that, then start Enqi's lecture, because my video will set your mind up for the types of things you're going to build around. Okay, now my video does not include melanin. There's a huge topic of melanin. I'd say at least 8 to 9 hours out of the whole 11 hours, Enqi's talking about how melanin is related to these things. I brought up the light subject because if you watch the lecture with me and Enqi that I threw in Philly, in the very beginning, you don't even have to go very far in. In the very beginning, after my brother introduces me, I have that card where I'm talking about the beginning of, basically what sets frequency, the spiraling out of how things are created. So when Enqi is in his lecture and he's talking about in the beginning there was the word, and in Kemet they called it the utterance, they're talking about the thing that disturbs something that causes light to exist. Like, for instance, the fact we can see, we know something's being disturbed to create this visual, what's the term I want to use? This visual phenomena that I could call it that, right? Emmanuel was good, RTP. See y'all. Be more understanding. David Woodward, I see y'all in the building. But yeah, it's I started the beginning of the video because in my section, I was covering a general amount of information about a lot of topics. So in that lecture, you kind of build a good foundation. When you go into Enqi's, you start to understand the phenomena of God, as we should call it, right? And on his side, so it was about a big part of what Enqi wanted to get across is how people scrutinize our belief systems and we don't scrutinize theirs back. We spend too much time defending our own and not scrutinizing other people's. And then he was showing you intelligent design. And like, the guy was like dropping the balls inside the magnetic fields and they were self-assembling. That was a really big deal. And that's in the beginning of my lecture, I was trying to show people the phenomena that create the order. And the order is created with a form of magnetism. And however the world, whatever way you believe in it is set up, that magnetism sets things in a certain order where they naturally create certain phenomena when they interact with one another. Like, for instance, there's a certain amount of there's a certain amount of vibration that exists in the world to create every object we see and all phenomena. But we know that those phenomena also can be accelerated. Like, for instance, my body has a standard temperature. But if I start rubbing my hands together faster and faster, I can induce a higher temperature across my skin. Now, if I was strong enough and put enough pressure in between, I could actually induce a strong enough amount of pressure to inflame my hands and eventually tear the skin off of it. But that's if I were to put that much pressure on it. I'll be kind of an idiot to do something like that. But that's what I'm saying. So in my lecture, you hear me say pressure mediation. And when Enqi is telling you a lot about coherence, different poles, electrons, magnetism, light, you're talking about those phenomena, those same phenomena. And this is where Enqi say the body runs off of light, because all disturbance causes some form of light, whether you can visually see it or not. See, people with shallow understanding will always talk about the light they can see, not the light they can't see. It's almost like we try and separate all these things. But when we're talking about frequency, sound, electricity, and light, we're literally talking about the exact same thing on different levels. Because once that utterance, that word starts, that's our sound. So the sound exists whether you hear it or not. Because just like light, since sound is a disturbance in the medium, which creates a form of light, whether you could see it or hear it, it still exists. The moment a disturbance happens, the existence of a thing happens, whether you pick it up or not. That's a part of how vast and great the universe actually is. So what you do is, you have to make the disturbance, the sound, right? The disturbance of sound creates a form of light because there's a clash happening, a friction happening. Something is happening within the medium, as we call it. And then when that friction starts to get stronger, the sound gets louder. And eventually, if it keeps going long enough, it reaches the visual field point. And that's when you're in the frequency of vision. Electricity is just a weaker form of light moving. That's it. So we call it electron. And when it moves, it's electricity. But it can be seen. There's some electricity that has such a weak field, you can't see it. And then there's some that has a stronger field, you can see it. But the weaker field doesn't mean you can't see it. That's all I'm saying. So when you make it strong enough, think about it. Anything that, and remember, these things were said during Enqi's lecture, anything that oscillates, because alternating current is an oscillation back and forth. If I were to make this happen fast enough, which I can't do, my hand would look still. And if I'm moving it fast enough and it's electricity, which is a form of light, and it moves fast enough, it looks like something's glowing. And then if it creates even more faster frictions, meaning higher frequency, higher vibration, faster oscillation, the color will change. So you start to align vibration or frequency, sound, electricity, light, And then we're also what was the other term? Pigment. Because obviously when we create fire is like a form of friction created, right? So when the speed of that gets faster and faster, you got the white hot light, you got the blue hot light, you got the red and orange hot light. So this is all about the frequency of the vibration. Wi-Fi signals, it's the same thing. The frequency, when we talk 3G, 4G, 5G, we're just talking about a higher frequency, meaning how frequently the oscillation of the mountains happen. So it goes up, it goes down. How many times in a minute? Okay, that's hertz, that's frequency. That's how many times every whatever, every minute, every hour, every day. And the more times we can make that waving or that oscillating motion within a second, minute, hour, year, whatever, the higher the frequency. But when it comes to the body, when it comes to the melanin, see what I'm doing is I'm trying to unify the over 11 hours what Enqi talked about. I'm trying to unify some of the specific talking points. So when you're talking about the multiple frequencies, which span the multiple levels of, like, for instance, in the visual frequency, you notice it's different colors. So when the frequency gets faster and faster, the color can change. So melanin, which is a unification of all pigment, which would be all the frequencies, which turns brown and black. We learned that because remember, in brightness, when you unify color, it turns bright white. In saturation, which is what skin pigment is, and the pigments in your body, that's saturation. When you saturate multiple colors, they turn brown, black. Okay. So because of that, that means that the brown and black is a unification of all the color frequencies, which means it has the ability to interact with them. Okay. Hopefully this makes sense to y'all. And if it does, let me know. So if you unify all frequencies in the saturation field, which is what food and skin tones and physical things that, outside of, bright light that we're talking about, that is the thing. Because let me clarify. If you were to take bright light, which is in all combinations turns white, and you crystallize it where you can see it, the light is fighting. When you saturate it and it's pigment and it's all unified like carbon, it's not fighting. It's all unified as one. You get what I'm saying when we're talking about melanin, right? So if the darkness is the unification of all frequencies, then that means that that darkness has the ability to interface with all frequencies. So melanin must be included in all things that have to do with frequency within your body. The less melanin within a certain location, which is identified by its color, will determine how much it can interact with. So obviously, very dark eumelanin can interface with more frequencies rapidly. So therefore, it can take in more light and radiate more back out. Why? Because once it receives it, it's literally slowing down the harmful frequencies from touching the insides of your body or the insides of your nerves or anything that could be damaged. So the light comes in, the melanin comes in contact with it, it transduces it so it can be used within the body a certain way to change its form and shape to radiate it back out. The darker you are, the faster and higher that response will be. The lighter you are, the lesser the threshold of that response. So obviously, if you see the other side of my hand, right, one side is darker than the other. The lighter side of the hand will draw in frequencies faster because there's nothing to slow it down and transduce it. So it'll come in fast, which means if it starts to burn, I need to close that off or maybe shield it by closing it and turning it around. Because when the same frequencies hit here, it's slower. It's not going to burn as much. Here it will. Okay, let me see what y'all saying. Does an abundance of melanin interfere with what humans classify as intelligent? Snuggles, why would so give me your thought process behind that. Why would you think an abundance of melanin interferes with what we classify as intelligent? Because remember, in the lecture, Enqi is showing you how light is intelligence. Light is the information that is being carried. That's what it is. All information carried is a form of frequency. When I talk to you, for those of you who recorded music before and seen what the software looked like, every different word I say, there's a different frequency that shows up in the sound bar. So that means that the frequencies can be identified as a form of intelligence if we decode them. Now, we decode our frequencies we hear as words, sight, sound, visuals, all that stuff. Our body is different. So it's decoding something different. It absorbs frequencies and there's like a picture feedback, and we give those picture feedbacks names. Hence, if you're Bible scholars, right, it talks about how man will have the ability to name things. All is mind, and all already exists. So there's nothing more but us to experience it. If you were to ask me, I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but if you were to ask me the summary of the Bible, it is man who could once do everything and not understand it, had to fall so that all that he could do, he could learn it and understand it. And we have to, because they said in the end, all will be known. So all possibilities must be manifested, whether by thought, physical, action, intent, whatever. All must exist because all is mind, which means all that can exist will eventually exist so man can experience it. Then the Adam that once could do everything and didn't understand why will now be able to do everything and understand why. So you will be able to control that power you were given. So that's a summary of that whole thing, right? So I did explain in past videos, they may not even be up anymore because of the whole COVID thing. I might have took certain ideals that I had on certain videos down, but think about it. Even if you look at the world you live in today, wherever well, at least in America, one of the words for light is ion, I-O-N. And I've explained this before in the past. I don't know when the last time I explained it, but words are considered light because light and frequency and vibration are all one and the same. Our voice vibrates, therefore it creates some form of light that can be picked up so somebody can receive intelligence. So the words in the English language that have to do with light have the letters I-O-N in them. So if I'm speaking light, we use the word diction. And if I'm researching what it means, it's dictionary. If I'm talking about the visual field within my mind, imagination, the image, nation, and nation is nature and ion, the light of nature. So I hope this makes sense. Let me see. I wonder if there's a one day be a way to specifically determine which pigments you are internally lacking and supplement with diet like therapeutics. Good point. I have ideas about that, but let me see what Snuggle said. You have a lot of information, but the people that are supposed to be receiving this information not seem to want to be drawn to it. But the information is vastly intelligent, but not enough people. Why? You're actually asking a question that I always believe there's an answer to, but that's the job of those of us who are seeking that knowledge to radiate it back out. That's a part of what I've been telling people is possible. Like, for instance, biblically, they would say some seed, some water, God gets the increase, right? That's the way they would put it. But the some seed, some water is because of our differences, the way we all have different shapes and the way we process and use information to radiate it out into the world. So, Snuggles, your information you received in life is different than mine. Your experience can be different than mine. Some will overlap, but overall, there's a lot of different experiences. So let's say me and you have different experiences in relationships with people, friends and stuff. You would give a certain amount of information. I could give a certain amount of information. To most people, maybe my information would sound like, oh man, it's so studied, it's so intelligent, it sounds so crazy. But not everyone's going to listen to me. Many are going to listen to you. So it's in the frequency of presentation. Because remember, I explain shapes a lot in my explanations. And certain shapes mesh well with other shapes. That includes frequency, which AKA means delivery. So I may deliver something that seems reasonable, but for some reason, for some people, their lack of passion stops certain people from receiving the info. For other people, high amounts of passion will allow that same person to receive it, and so on and so forth, right? So the issue is in the delivery, and delivery is a form of shape, okay? So we have to learn to respect the differences of life because this is where our research comes from. We are, as human beings, we do all this research to become more intelligent so that we can be, lighter beings, so we can retain more light, so we can really nurture our soul, our spirit, whatever way you want to put it, right? So, George Macon in the building, Doug, I see you. So it has to be understood that having a high amount of information doesn't equal a high amount of wisdom, because the wisdom is the working principle thing. Whereas knowledge, you have information, I gather something. You have knowledge of it, which is pretty much how to use it. And then you have wisdom, which is proper application. So I can have a lot of information In a crowd of 1,000 people, I may reach 600, but I may not have the proper wisdom to reach the additional 400 that are still sitting in the room for whatever reason. You might find out years later that, oh, those people like to receive their information aggressively. Some of them don't like to receive it verbally. Some like to receive it as artwork. Some like it as music. There's a whole bunch of different ways. And at any given time, this is where us unifying our energies matter. Because while I may be able to sit on here and speak and draw a certain amount of attention, if I'm in a crowd of people in real life, if I had you guys in the chat room standing next to me, radiating out that same information, and people were coming in questioning me like they don't get it, you would be able to radiate that info back out in a different way where they say, oh, you know what, the way they explained it, I got it. Even if you think I explained it well enough, it doesn't matter. And that's the phenomena of life. It can be that difficult sometimes, but really, your gathering of information strengthens you to be able to manage yourself and the rest of the world. But primarily, the information you gather is supposed to be so you can carry your own cross. When I study health information, I'm not you, I'm not anybody else. My job is to be able to save me because, first and foremost, if I don't know thyself, then I can't help others, right? So I have to at least have a general understanding and know how to help myself so that I have a greater understanding of how to help others. And then I can also evaluate others to help them help themselves if they're trying to grow in that same knowledge. So, so much in so short period of time. Why do people of a higher melanated content usually gravitate to en masse very easily if you would have changed the title of your subject? Hold on, let me read that again because I might need clarity. What do people of a higher melanated content usually, do you mean why do they? Why do they usually gravitate en masse to very easily if you would have changed the title of your subject? Are you talking about clickbaiting? Like when we clickbait videos? I might be totally off subject on you, but do you mean like when we clickbait? Like if I title this video, the end of melanated peoples, it'd be clicks every goddamn where. But if I say how to understand melanin, that number goes down by like 75%. Again, that's vibes, vibrations, how we teach people, right? Okay, yeah. So people, emotions, right? This is what we say: emotion, electronic motion, energy in motion, whatever way you want to put it, right? But that's what it is. Your energy in motion responds to certain shapes. You as a person is a shape. I always tell people, Enqi talks about light, which is the information. I talk about shape, which is the thing noticed. Okay. Form denotes function. However, the type of form that each of us as people will not denote a function anytime soon. We have to learn people. That form is a little too deep. It's not like a wrench where we can look at it and be like, oh, it has one function, right? Unless you hit it against something, you might be using it for a second function. But people are also a form or a shape that denotes a function. Now, we can look at the melanin content, we look at the hair type, and we could speak about some of the function, but who that person is in totality, we are complex beings. So I can't do that for a person standing in front of me, right? So because you are shaped a certain way, you receive certain frequencies and information as you grew up. That means the shape of you, the shape that you are, the shape of your emotions, because it's all frequencies. The way you respond to something depends on the what vibes you get. I ain't vibing too well with that person. I don't feel a vibe. All this vibe stuff is all vibrations. So that has a shape, whether you can explain it or not. The way someone talks to you, the way it feels, it's all shapes and how well do they mesh together. Someone speaks to you the wrong way, meaning the shape in which they're speaking to you, if you will, right? Doesn't mean you'll receive it well, even with well intent. It must be understood from another person. So when we clickbait, what it is we're figuring out what makes a lot of people tick. And that gets us the views. So we put up something controversial. People are drawn to negative stuff. I learned this when I used to work at Walmart. They told us, they was like, you got to be nice to customers because when you're nice to, you have to understand that a good customer will tell one person if you were good. Let's put it this way. Good customer service is usually told to one other person. Bad customer service usually circulates to 10 other people. Why? Because you felt like you were hurt so bad, it bothered you. It bothered your emotions. It messed with who you are. And it sent something inside of you that makes you say, you need to speak. You need to radiate that back out. You don't want to hold on to it. So you want to tell people all the time. Things that agree with you, it's like been there, done that. Things that don't agree with you is controversial. It tends to move you more because you're not familiar with it. So your body is doing some form of investigation. Either you're figuring out that you're rejecting it, or you're receiving it because you take it personal. You feel like it's something that's got to be looked at, dealt with. So I clickbait you by striking that nerve. And the fact that most people would click controversial stuff is mostly due to the vibes that are put out by the rest of the world, the way our society was created, the way we're taught in school, what we see on TV, what we hear in the music, what we see in front of our faces that connect to that. The more things we get, we're being our entire emotions, our entire way of acting is being shaped by our environment. So in our environment, like when you were young, and your parents, obviously they're not gonna let you watch porn. But the moment you learn about porn and you start hearing how great it is on one end, but stay away from it on the other end, that's the subject that can be dangerous when learned the wrong way. But your curiosity, if you're young and you want to learn about porn, and I'm one of your friends, and it's 1,000 people in your school, I'm one of your friends who got access to porn, and I decide to put up a picture of two shadowy figures looking like they having sex, and I title it, "What is porn like?" Every kid in there who was curious about that, who's still young, who never experienced sex, because it's talked about. Did you get pussy? You get some pussy? You get some, y'all know how it is in the male circles. I can't speak too much for the women. I know it's there, but in the male circles, it's everywhere. If a bunch of men are curious about that answer, they asses is clicking on it. But if you say something like, here go a new video about how to brush your teeth in the morning, how to wash your ass, you already know that. It's common sense. It's familiarity, right? Unless somehow it didn't get taught to you, you might find one or two people in there looking at it. Nobody give a shit. Even if it's brand new information about it, it's like, come on, man, it's brushing teeth. How big of a deal can it be? You flag it off. So it's a combination of factors. It's a combination of shapes. I always say that. Frequencies settle as shapes, and the shapes have a certain type of light, which means that shape can do something that imparts information onto another person. The shape of my voice sounds a certain way, and it imparts certain information to make you react to it. The shape meshes well with another shape, causing things to move. If the shapes don't mend well together, they bounce off and they do nothing. Maybe make you mad, right? I hope this kind of explains things, right? Let me see what y'all been saying. Oh, you want to say? I like that, those snuggles. I might do that, right? Yeah, I worked at Walmart right before I went to college. I worked in Walmart 98, 99, and I'm a millennial. So I went to college in 2000. I was born in 82. Next time, do a stream about something in the news that's salacious, and I would like you to tie it in with melanin and what attracts highly melanated individuals. Why? Let's see. If I just put the word title about how great our melanin is, that's going to pop. Because obviously, if y'all been around since the Phil Valentine days, the Bobby Hemmets, the early in lecture form, Dr. Enqi, early Brother Polite, before all the craziness went on that's going on now, the Dr. Clarks and all the stuff like that. Layla Africa, when melanin showed up, we was in the building. That was the clickbait central back then. Just put melanin in the title and it was in the building, right? So that was a really big deal. But here's the thing you got to understand. If I create I'll do it, but if I create like a crazy title that actually works, keep in mind, I'm not in the algorithm as strong as certain other people, what would be stronger for you is if you go and look at people who have really big channels. And when they talked about something like their title just was like what we call trash. And you looked at it like, that video don't seem like it's too interesting, just based off the title, right? And then look at the ones where it's like, yo, these black women, it's terrible for the black man. Something just terrible. All of a sudden it's mad. Like, you got to look at the percentages within the numbers you carry. Like, I see how many subscribers I got, and you can be judged on how many of those subscribers see your video by the time the video's been up for a while. So I think the average amount of watch that I get on a video is usually in the mid 200s out of 500 something. And then there's an occasional lecture that might have a very special name connected to it, or it's promoted in another channel. and you'll see that number go up to like 400 something. So it's, it's up in the air. But yeah, I see what you mean, Smuggles. What else we got? Yeah, bad news crosses the globe 6 times before good news makes it across town. Yeah, see, like it, and we all know we've been through that experience that's true, right? Let me see. People who are less melanated, who created certain situations of degradation, do not seem to be affected by it. But highly melanated people picked up the habit. Please explain. Well, remember, highly melanated people. So advantages you get, you're also on the hook for the damage too. So melanin can absorb more frequencies, which means your body is more sensitive to frequencies. So if someone co-ops that and fills that thing with negative frequencies long enough, what we call conditioning, what Matrix was trying to explain, you take this pill, you go there, you take this pill, you go back to the mundane and all that, right? You can fill, like, for the lack of a better term, you can fill melanin with a bunch of bullshit frequencies, or you can fill it with a bunch of good stuff. Melanin is very strong. You can go out in the sunlight and fill it up with positive vibrations and things that help your body, or you could just stay in a house and get hit with a bunch of blue light and destroy your body. That melanin is transducing what you bring in. If them frequencies don't match up well to your body, you're single-handedly destroying your own body. So the same reason that you could look at melanin as being a very powerful thing, it can also be something that's I don't want to say a crutch. That's not the word I want to use. So it can help you a lot, but it can also damage you a lot. So, as it said in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. So if you have an ignorant parent who births a child and teaches the child the things that they were taught in ignorance, then the parent will impart that on the child, and the child will have a great chance of becoming exactly the same type of person. Hence why there was such a rift through race, through time. The melanin had a lot of power. It was the front runner for how a human body would respond in nature. So if you studied the melanated human body, the darkest one, then you knew how to tailor it to all other shapes and sizes or other types of melanated beings. That's why they always studied look at Enqi's lecture and you'll hear all of this stuff. When the Germans studied the melanated body throughout history, when the white scientists studied the melanated body, look at Medical Apartheid, the book, right? When they studied the black body, they took the information they learned about the black body and they tailor-made the information to help themselves out. And the stuff that they do to help themselves out gets used for us, but not in proper response. So let me give you an example. We have X-ray machines. X-ray machines use vibrations to pick up light being exuded from the human body. Because our melanin can absorb and transduce light and radiate it back out, the X-rays don't get through as fast as it would on a non-melanated body. Therefore, on an electronic machine, something being used electronically to put frequencies into us to get information out of us, you got to turn the machine up higher. You see what I mean? So that's the thing. So what happens is, now let's make a scenario out of that. You wonder why, like one day you go to the hospital, right? You're 35 years old, you go to the hospital, you go check your bone density. Now let's say the bone density chart goes from 1 to 10. And let's say they deem healthy anything above a 6. The moment it goes below a 6, you got a problem. The problem is, for a Caucasian person, that those numbers make sense. Because 6 is the threshold for bad, meaning going below 6 is bad. But a melanated person, going below 8 might be bad because the melanin allows them, again, to transduce, radiate back out more energy. So because of the fact we can absorb all this energy and use it to certain capacities, fast twitch muscle, sports, all that thing they talk about with sports, faster thought, faster learning capability, all those things. The fact that we can use all that, we get denser bone, we get tougher skin, we don't age as fast. So what happens is you come to the hospital, the damn test says you're a 7, and they're saying you good. All of a sudden you go to a 5, your ass got bone cancer. Caucasian goes down to a 5, you got a little osteoarthritis. We need to start correcting that. But you're in more danger. You see what I mean? Not having proper information about your own body. Remember, Enqi, I'm talking about the 11-hour lecture that Enqi did, and these are pieces that are in there. You don't know your body better than your enemy does. So your enemy studied you, used the information about you to help their people, Meanwhile, you're stuck thinking that the information that helps their people will help you too. So therefore, you get sicker, you get weaker, and it's most of the time suddenly out of nowhere, and you're wondering why. Or a response happens much faster to you, and you wonder why, good or bad. So, for instance, turn the music on, put a in on average, put a Caucasian person next to a black person. The black person is going to pick up the rhythm and the vibe and be able to dance to it almost instantly. You do it with a Caucasian person, they're going to pick up the rhythm and the vibe, but to be on beat and do the same thing, more than likely, they're not going to win that battle. You see what I mean? And then when you listen to Enqi's music and what he was talking about, he talked about how sound and melanin and water is everything. That was like the culmination of everything. Because in the beginning, there was the word, there was the utterance, which means there was a disturbance. And a disturbance can be looked at as a frequency. And frequencies that get stronger becomes greater light. Little bit of light, can't see it, but it's there because there's a disturbance happening. Just like sound, there's sounds you can't hear. And when the disturbance gets greater, you can hear it. Same thing with light. The light is there, but until the disturbance gets great enough, you can't see it. If it was all about you could pick up every damn thing, then your eyes might as well be able to hear. We might as well have one sense and no eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. Just one thing that can do all of it across the entire threshold. But you don't have that. There's a reason your eyes have a threshold of light. There's a point where looking at the sun, you see color, and when it gets bright enough, there's no more color. It's just flat white. There's a point where peering into the darkness, you can see color, then eventually it becomes bluish gray when it gets dark, and eventually you can't see a damn thing. There's a reason for that. There's thresholds. It's just that with melanin, you gain a greater threshold. And because of that greater threshold, more sensitivity in your emotions, more sensitivity in spiritual matters, more sensitivity in the ability to respond to stimulus, more sensitivity when it comes to music, more sensitivity when your ass eat bad food. See, all circles the globe, right? What else we got? That black dot. Yeah, melanin's super buzzword, right? Let me see, Moon Rocker, what you say? The less melanated do it too. They all into the gossip too. Look at the text. Well, yeah. I just wanted to make sure we kept the conversation succinct, but you're damn right. The less melanated people look at controversial stuff too. There's a reason that people, certain channels get like millions of viewers at a regular time. Trust me, millions of viewers is not going to be just black people. So yeah, that's what it is, right? Let a white person say tomorrow on my channel, I'm about to say the N word. Yo, that room gonna be full of people, even the black and the white people, because the white people like, I want to see him say it live. It's controversial, right? It taps black people's emotions, and white people know that if they try and use it in public, the type of controversy it causes, the type of controversy that's taboo. You don't see it every day in real life. So when it happens live, you want to be there to catch it. So it's a lot of reasons for them to come in and want to dip in. So yeah, you're right about that, Moon Rocket. Let me see. People who lack melanin, why do they seem to have the advantage intellectually when it comes to outsmarting people who have a lot of melanin, which signify intelligence, but it doesn't seem to? Because of what I just told you. Melanin is a gift and a curse. If I train the melanated being, because remember, melanin means I have a high threshold. It doesn't mean I met the threshold. Your intelligence, let's say, if intelligence came in 100 gallons, and your intelligence allowed you to fill 80 of them and only allowed another person to fill 20. If they fill their 20 completely, and out of your 80, you only fill 10, well, you can have all the potential you want. You ain't filling the shit. So you don't get anything out of it. So that's pretty much what happens. So the one being out, I learned that it's a book that I had about money a long time ago. And they said when it comes to money, what they learned about the industry was the person who got the most, because remember, money is a constructive thing to make societies run. It's not a natural thing. It's just a method being used to do e-commerce trade and all that stuff. So the one person who comes, so in the beginning, it's as simple as you have a product, I have some cash, we trade. This is what happened with gold and products, gold, silver products. You know, you have precious metals, salts, minerals, and all that. You traded that for products. Later on, when people realize that the gold might be a precious thing, but it's heavy as hell, and I need to be carrying more of this cash. This gold's too heavy. It can get me a lot, but it's too heavy. Someone thought of another way to exchange. Give me your gold. I'll give you all this cash. The cash ain't worth shit. It has no value outside of burning it, right? Because it's paper. The gold, however, conductor, it can't rust. Like you can build with it. It's a lot of stuff you can do with it. So, but people say it's too heavy. So I'll get this guy the gold to hold it and I'll take the cash. My job is if I want my gold back to bring the cash back. But they never bought the cash back. Everyone just started using the cash. So what happened after that? Someone else got a smart idea and said, what about credit? What about, all right, so they already gave up the gold. Now they got cash. What if I lend the cash out to people who need it and tell them to give me more back? All right, that's another level. Okay, so now we got credit issues. So we got credit, loans, and all that stuff like that. We got the gold, we got the cash. Now we got the credit and the loan system, which means you don't own any of this shit anymore. You just borrowing it with hopes to pay back more of what you don't have. All right, and somehow that worked out. Then we needed places to put that cash. We put that in the bank, and then the cash became the loaning and the banking issue. Then that turned into the stock market. Then that turned into bonds and stocks and hedge funds and options and crypto and NFTs. And it's just somebody else creating a new mathematical equation to get over on another person while you collect the actual resources. And the one with the most experience passes it down. Now, remember, melanated peoples based on history were more civilized. They weren't about taking lives unless they had to. It was about defense, but it wasn't about taking life. And then another group of people came along and said, we're going to rape, plunder, pillage, and do all these nasty things that we like. What kind of a person wants to do things like this? So they were willing to take on a different form, a different way of going about life than we were, which presents a weakness. It's the Joker and the Batman thing. Joker's like, I'll kill someone to get my point of view across. But the one guy who can stop me, he won't kill me. So what did he say in Batman's in the other Batman joint? He said, this is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. You see what I mean? That's the dilemma that we play. So you might ask yourself, well, why don't we just fight fire with fire? Well, that's what separates us. A more humane person doesn't want to fight with fire. They want to fight more with reason. Whereas the other side, they learned reason from you and they will reason as long as they get what they want. That's why at a certain point in war, people said, yo, when them people come, do not fucking talk to them. When they come with you, they come with the intent to get what they want or they start a fight. So don't even talk to them. Shut your fucking mouth. Do not give them any information. If they want to fight, you give their ass everything you got. As long as you didn't give them info, you stand a fighting chance. But you go running your mouth about everything you got to somebody who's your enemy, who wants what you got, no matter what you say, they're going to take all the info from you to learn something about you and use it against you. It's just deviousness. Like some people just have you don't have to be greater than a melanated person to be devious and use deviety against them. Deviety, right? That's my new vocabulary word, right? Melanated peoples are made to thrive in the natural world. The world has never been more unnatural. And the unnatural part comes from climate. Because remember, now it depends on how you subscribe to different types of people. You have some people who believe in the creation theory, like we're here, we're the original peoples, everything else was creations, right? Some alien race, it was us, is different explanations for it. So to answer that question depends on how you look at the theories of it all. So if you subscribe to everything being natural, then you have to understand that their skin color, you know, if it's not just out of Africa, or even if it is, and it's just a modification based on climate. When I live in a climate where everything has to be fought and scrounged for, and things seem to be finite and they will always go away, so you got to grab what you can. So you have that mentality when you come out of that cold weather, right? Cold locations, you got to fight and scrounge and scrape and scrap. It's the savagery. When you're in the warm climate, the sun's giving you energy, everything's growing on the trees, you don't have to harm people. When those two meet each other, the mindsets clash. You come from a place where everything's abundant. So what are you telling people? Everything's abundant. We got you. We got your back. Look like the sun hurting you a little bit. We'll see what we can use in our knowledge to get you. We'll either get you back to where you're supposed to be and we'll help you from there, or we'll find a way to protect you from it, sunscreen and such, right? Whatever you want to think of. But in their mind, it's like, nah, where we come from, people find ways to deceive each other all the time. And because they deceive each other all the time, y'all are lying. Y'all don't have total abundance. You got limited resources. And when they run out, you're not going to give some to us. So what we're going to do is we need to control it. We try and take it. You see what I mean? And then they take it. And then they alienate everybody and create enemies out of everybody. And then later on, they say, oh, shit, it is kind of abundant. And it can be tracked and traced and recreated all the time. But now we done made enemies. So we got to have a military all the time to protect what we gathered. Because we don't want to give it back. Like we in the history books now, I'm not quick to just get his shit back because I found out, I didn't treated you like shit. Now, years later, I found out it's okay. No, I don't trust you to treat me good because of what I did. So now that I got myself into that trouble, I got to find a way to save face. I keep my military around you. I got to watch you because in my mind, you will always want to attack back. See, that's savage thought. That's war mentality. That's why when they teach you the body, autoimmune disease is your body attacking itself. Your body doesn't heal anything. It doesn't get rid of anything. It's always attacking itself. Your cells don't have babies. Your cells divide. Like this divide and conquer. Like you're always getting war mentality. See what I mean? Principles of the strong are being used by the weak because the weak have a deficit of the fact that they're too civil to use any of the things that are dangerous to other people. So your civility, your spirituality is being used against you. And that's your fight to have with them. Their fight is maintain if I got to kill at the drop of a dime, live, connive, cheat, steal, do whatever I got to do. You're like, that's inhumane. So a side of you is spiritual that says love will conquer all. This is why it's hard to get a Christian to change because the Christians are like love conquers all. So y'all are saying fight fire with fire. No, I can't become them because then I am them. See, it's a dilemma. It's a dilemma of civility. So they don't outsmart anything. We just lost the war and we're under them. Well, I see what you're saying, George, but at the end of the day, even if we had the smarts to know what to do, if we didn't do it and we found ourselves in this position, that's what some people would call it outsmarted. I used your thing against you. My side, regardless of how I did it, was great enough to put me in this position. I outsmarted you. That's what they would call it. And you might say, no, you ain't outsmart me. I knew what you was doing. I knew how to stop it. I just didn't want to do what you did. Either way, I found a way to make you not retaliate. I was smarter. I was greater on this day. The strongest survived. So that's a stalemate argument, kind of, right? So it's all about what, if we are greater and we lost the war back then, what's great about you now that will win the war now? Well, we don't know until someone does it. That's what it is. If it's our intellect, which a lot of the times we think that's the reason we're alive, because we single-handedly tend to create everything. The specialty about us is our ability to create. We add seasoning and flavor to every goddamn thing. They come up with a stage of music and we get to dance into it. They all get frozen watching. Because it's like, goddamn, when they touch stuff, that shit turn to gold. And then they take that gold and they sell it in their system, right? It's their system. It's not ours. If it was ours, then obviously y'all would say it would be greater. But we need the room to make something greater. And we don't want to kill people to be able to do that because we're too civil, too spiritual. We're too good. We're too loving. Even when we cuss you the hell out, we love you. When your parents whip your ass, I love you. See? Now, does that mean there's nobody outside of that paradigm? Is there no melanated people who are uncivil, or whatever? Of course there is, because again, the gift is the curse. As great as you can be on one side is as great as you can be on the other side. You can be the evil bastard, or you can be a good bastard. Be whichever one you want, right? Urban nerds to the rescue. Let's get it. Perception, propaganda, and marketing. It's a big deal in today's world, ain't it? Rewind and come again, selector. Exactly, to control us through fear and ignorance of our power. Yeah, so we gain it back with the type of minds that we have. If you were to ask me, do I believe that with this melanated body, we have the capability to come up with a greater system and make everything better for everybody? You goddamn right, I believe that. We've proven it time and time again. It's the reason we're still here. If we were of no use to anybody, we wouldn't be here anymore, even as consumers. Because even with us being consumers, you sell jewelry and Jordans and stuff like that through it. We dress that shit down a certain way. Because remember, when they wear expensive clothing, like when they wear suits and stuff, usually the most expensive stuff, the name don't show. And they're very conservative about it. Us, when we put that shit on, we flashy. We showing off. It don't harm nobody to show off. We walk around, we swagging, we dancing, fresh to death. We add a little flavor and seasoning onto that shit. People trying to, like, when it comes to looks and how we carry ourselves, those are definitely two areas, to an extent, right? We had a little area with the hair and shit like that. But either way, when they took away, no happy nair, lay your shit down, we still fucking swag that shit out. So even in our ignorance, we add seasoning on top of that shit. This is in general. Everybody's going to point out, well, I know white people who do it and Indian people do it. I don't give a fuck. In general, if you cross the spans of the world and you ask who be flavoring the shit out of society, melanated black people. We do that shit. We flavor everything to the max. People hate us sometimes for it. Show up at the damn protest twerking and shit. But we always got the energy. We flavor that shit every single time. You can't deny that in our ignorance and in our greatness. If you give us the option to be in front of the world, like we always remember Dave Chappelle, we make jokes and shit about it. If Obama was being hood, coming out to do his first speech, shades and shit on, my man, shaking hands a certain way. We even play with the fact, like, because we know we're standing in someone else's system. We got to come in there proper, you know, got to come in there proper. But give us the option to not have to come in as ourselves. Oh, we're going to show up in the White House sprinkling flavor on that thing. And somebody who's been whitewashed is going to be like, oh, ignorance, joking, playing around. No, I'm just being myself. Just because I'm sitting here swagging and being flavorful don't mean I won't whip your ass. It don't mean I won't give you the business with my words. Because we do it all the time. Black women do it a lot. You start black women being calm and collected, you start treating them like trash. The words, they season their words and start adding flavor to that shit as they cussing you out. See? It's always there. You can't take our original nature from us. It's going to exist whether we're doing something bad or good. That's what we do. So they said make them the consumers, because when they put that shit on, they make the rest of the world think it look good and it sells more. Right? How could you capture the minds of the people you are trying to get, or would you just let the old die and save the young? I am one of those people who still in a way is see if I get that sun glare off my face. I'm one of those people who in a bit of a way, I still have this thing where I would love to be able to save everybody, but I am now at peace with not being able to. But if I have an idea where I think urban nerds in general can give the, and I want y'all to take this because me and my brother had this conversation, and some friends agree with it because it's starting to take on that form. Urban nerds gives the black people a face with no restriction. Like, we have a face now. Like, this logo, I've been watching it. I might have designed it, and me and George might have carried it. But there's a level of carrying with the urban nerds, like the original logo. There's a level of this that we didn't do anything with, and it carried itself. And I've come to the conclusion, because a lot of people say it, the logo itself can stand in next to the greatest logos in the world. Like, we literally could be like, you could see like UPS, Nike, we'll say y'all can give me some of the great logos and stuff out there, but you can put Urban Nerds logo in the middle of that shit, and it will stand up against it. And this is why I said in the urban, y'all watch the Urban Nerds channel. Make sure y'all are following Make sure y'all following Urban Nerds Worldwide. God damn it! Make sure y'all are on YouTube following Urban Nerds Worldwide, because on the last video I was telling people how I want y'all, whether y'all you don't have to have a chapter yet. Like, we're still building, but as we build, you can too. All you have to do is do what you do well and wear the logo and represent the logo in terms of how you want to represent your own business, your own customs. Now, I'm not saying you're not using the logo for your business. You're wearing the logo as you represent your business because you believe what you offer to the world is such a great service. Maybe you're helping children out. Maybe you're a great engineer. Maybe you're a great technician. Maybe you're a great mathematician. But when you are those things and you wear that logo, people are going to think, oh, that's your business. It's not. Just say, no, this is a group of people who represent greatness in my community, and I am one of them. So you can use the Urban Nerd logo, and this is what makes it go worldwide. It goes worldwide because the greatest of us represent that. And when you guys do what you do great, you wear it when you're representing what you do well. Meaning, if there is a subject in this world and there's a talent and a gift that you have, and when you do it, you're the one who shines in your community. You might be the greatest mechanic. You might be the greatest goddamn dishwasher. But when people talk to you about it, you know all the solvents and the cleaners and all that. When you're the greatest basketball player, you know how to run the plays. You don't just got a nice stroke, nice dribble. You do this. You speak it like a nerd. So whatever that nerd thing is, you become a representative of what this stands for. That's why we said in the beginning, if y'all tie urban nerds to just saying, well, when I see urban nerds, I see George and Marv, it's no different than saying when I see revolution, I see Martin Luther King and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. So what happens is when they die off, the movement dies. Institutions stand the test of time, which means when me and George no longer exist, this symbol should be so great that so many people in the world carry it that when they see each other, Y'all start doing the heads up, handshaking. I see you on that Urban Nerds, dog. I'm from Philly. I am. Y'all from Canada. I am. Y'all from Australia. I am. I'm from the Savannahs. I am. I'm from the Cayman Islands. I am. I am that I am. And then y'all become the embodiment of the logo. So wherever people see it, all they see is Black greatness. Now you have an official movement. It don't take money to do that. The money allows us to get the children up to where they need to be so they can do it. But the movement and the look of it itself only takes enough people showing up, being good at what they do who are Black. See what I mean? Someone, a white guy asked me, can I support and wear that logo too? They can if they want to. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to say, oh, you can't wear this logo. If you ain't representing bullshit and you wearing the logo, wear the fucking logo. Because when they wear it, that's supporting us too, because more people are seeing it. They're starting to say, God damn, this urban nerd shit is crazy. Like, I can't see anything not positive about it. Every time I talk to somebody who wear that urban nerds, they be talking they shit, man. They be so good at it. See? That's what we need. That's a movement. That's not a fad. Urban nerds is not a fad. It's a movement. That's why y'all come on here and be like, what's up, urban nerds? Urban nerds, this and urban. Trust me, me and George had millions. Shit would have been worldwide a long time ago. But in this world, while we moving one person at a time, growing urban nerds, it could speed up a lot through funding. But we understand our community, unless we reach enough people, it's hard to build up a lot of funding. We can get funding. We're not broke as who we are right now. But we know when you try and make big moves in today's world where money is constantly depreciating and we try and play catch up, it's a rough thing trying to, intermingling the whole finances versus action. And then you got to have proper response structure because somebody might, who don't know about us, keep saying, we saw your logo, sending us an email like, we saw your logo and we know what you're about. What happens if we can't pay people to respond to the emails and to the methods and questions because me and George still got to live, right? But we got to push urban nerds. When no one responds to the people, then the people think, oh, well, I guess it's just a fad. So we got to get the money so that we can have the people who do what they do best run the responses to help the infrastructure grow so we can handle the pressure of the public coming to us. If we do it too early, then they're going to say, I mean, it was a good idea, but I mean, I emailed the dudes like 2 years ago and I ain't get no response yet. Like, we don't want to start off by having that kind of response. So by having y'all out there wearing the joint, talking at urban nerds and then telling people where the hub is, like, yo, it's these brothers named Marvin George who started it. But when we wear this, it's because we do what we do well as Black people. Like, we are what the media is not for us. When the media don't talk great about Black people, when the articles we see on TV, when YouTube and Facebook and Instagram keep offering us shit that's bad about us, when World Star Hip Hop keep putting up bad shit about us, people gonna also start to counter it by walking around the world and seeing this. And when they see it enough, they're gonna say, what's up with that urban nerd shit? I keep seeing people with it on. This is to show y'all we out here. We are now becoming our own statistic of how great we are. And you're looking at one of them. So when y'all wearing the shirt, you would say you're looking at one of them. Well, I mean, what makes you great? Now y'all big up your business and get that money. And when you get that money, send a little bit to your local children or to a local urban nerds location or shit. Send it to us so we can find a way to use it. But find a way to take a little bit of it and bring it back so we can keep growing it. And that's it. It's not a difficult thing. It can be done. Each person can do something with or without money to grow the actual movement. And I'm telling you, it's a beautiful, if you start walking around and y'all be like, God damn, I would have never thought. I'm walking around and them niggas started in Philly 2 weeks ago. We in downtown Los Angeles and motherfuckers got the logo on. See, that's movement. That don't take money. That's just as simple as I wear this because I'm great at what I do and I'm Black. That's it. Now, without the media, people be like, look, the media ain't saying shit about y'all, but I see y'all out here. That logo, man, that shit is so recognizable. When I see it, I know, like, I spoke to one of y'all dudes before, and I know what y'all about, and now I see you over here, and you my friend with it on. I love this shit, man. I'm about to cop me one. And then they're going to start thinking about what they are great when it comes to doing something in the world. And then the children will see it and be like, because, they love attention. So the children will be like, I'm a great artist. I want to be a great mathematician. The nerds start actually standing up. And when the nerds stand up and the adults that carry this are there, y'all start to see each other like, hey, what's that young boy? He got the urban nerd shirt on. What he like doing? He like IST, but he looking for somebody to mentor him. I got the urban nerd shit on too, and I'm in IST. So without any type of logistics and hub to call, you just connected with someone in your neighborhood. Why? All because you was representing. See? you start to see one another. And there will always be somebody who be like, man, I don't like that shit. I find it hard to believe they would do that, but they'd be like, I don't like that shit. I'm gonna wear that joint and go rob somebody. And then the news might play it like, oh, someone with the urban nerd shirt rob somebody. We gonna be everywhere like, won't represent that shit. And you're gonna be out there so much that people will be like, every urban nerds person I met was smart. Them dudes clearly ain't a part of that crew. See, that's gonna happen. That's life, right? But in mass, the greatest of us have to help the least of us. That's how it works. Telling everybody they got to get their own and climb up by their own bootstrap shit. In our community, that shit don't count. We got to actually hand to the plow, be willing to say, if I have a lot, the guy next to me who's trying to get a lot and doesn't know how, or he's too discouraged to try, I got your back until we can wake your ass up to start moving. All the way until death. And when we get a whirlwind of that happening, then the poorest of us to the richest of us will be covered. Our crime will go down and everyone else's crime will be noticeable. And now there will be no more talking shit about black people because they won't be able to. Because every time somebody do be like, why y'all play that shit on the news knowing we got all these urban nerds out here doing good shit? Why is this? How come y'all didn't put the shit up? Now they hounding the shit out the news channels and stop supporting them because it's like, y'all full of shit. Because y'all know all these black people is doing good stuff and y'all posting bullshit. But until they can see us and know we're unified somehow, they can't. So one of the greatest things we got early on with Urban Nerds is we actually have something to unify under. So I'm posing that out there to y'all and to your friends and family to let them know it's all about, like I said, you could buy a shirt. You can, you know, if your children need help and you need to get with Urban Nerds, cool. We all about that. That's what it's about. Giving the children more exposure. But we can do that greater when the adults themselves who are great at things, when we have a bunch of them out there that can connect to those children. So more of us out there, more help the children get, the more production we get, the less crime we get. And eventually, news going to have to poke at something else because it ain't going to be too many of us left out there causing damage. Enough ranting about that. What's up with y'all? I'm about to get off of here soon. You're stupid, Davita. For those, all right. So in the comment section, my wife is Davita, right? Everybody say hi to Davita. She probably still in the building. She put up that comment. Who do you think you are? I am. Now, for those who don't know where that came from, I want you to look up Pete Weber. I should type it in the chat. Pete Weber celebration in bowling. And what happens is, I swear, when y'all look at that some of y'all might have even saw it if y'all are bowling fans, came out years ago. But what happened was it looked like somebody doubted that he was going to be able to win a championship again at his age. And he threw that last strike, and that last strike won the game. And after he won the game, he was like, God damn it, I did it. Yo, it was the greatest celebration ever. And I think somebody in the crowd must have said something to him. And we don't know what he said, but all we remember is Pete Weber was like, who do you think you are? I am. And I'm like, somebody must have asked him who was the greatest or something like that. And that was his response. But if y'all want to see a real hype celebration, just look up Pete Weber celebration. And it'll pop up on YouTube probably easily because it was a hot joint. Moon Rocker, you caught that? That joint was great, man. I love that joint. All right. If y'all are, I have mods in here. If y'all are mods, that comment under Nikolai, I'll let y'all remove that if y'all want. Those show up in a lot of people's stuff. I think that's like a bot thing, but y'all can bounce that up out of here. But yeah, I pretty much done ran my mouth enough and got my point across to y'all. I know we done switch gears from me talking about the 11-hour John with Enqi to talk about Urban Nerds. They are kind of related because when we get into this health bag, we really be nerding out a little bit on it. So, which is great. That's what we want to do because that nerd swag. Let me tell you, man, when you into the things that add spice to life, whether you're in, you talking that health bag, you healing people, even with the basketball and music and the sports and all that seasoning that I told y'all we add to everything, that's that nerd swag. We add that same seasoning to all the science, technology, engineering, math, arts. We add that seasoning to everything to make it great. But we need to get more attention on the ones who do the STEM-based activities so that the children can get exposed to it. So when you hear all this new technology coming out, our children can compete in that world. Because George did a live stream about it, I think it was last week, where he was talking about why are there people who built the first gigahertz chip, who started helping with the World Wide Web and created like concave mirrors for satellite technology? Why do these people exist and there's no marketing for them to us? It don't always have to be Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. We know them bulls got the muscle, whether in the mouth or in the arms and the strength of the people around them. But the strength also comes from this technology. Like, we rocking cell phones every day. I'm pretty sure y'all would be hyped if you found out that we created a majority of that technology. So, let's get with it. We swag all of that out. And I'm here to simplify some of that knowledge on all that complicated stuff, because when children learn, not only if you give them the simple way in, which is what I do, I give them the baseline, the simple explanation. This is what you'll be able to do if you study this. That gets them in the game. When the teachers do it, the punchline ain't strong enough. That's why they don't stick around for class. The teachers you like the most, the punchline was strong. When the punchline ain't strong, the kids don't stick around for what the greatness that thing can be. And when it comes to science, technology, engineering, and math, that's usually the case. So we need to have our stronger punchlines for the STEM-based stuff. And when our punchlines get stronger, the children choose that path more. And when they choose that path more with that melanated skin and them brains, they're gonna come up with more creative ideas. So when we want it, we need to push it. Okay. That's right. They drop in the Urban Nerds Worldwide website. YouTube channel is also there in the chat. Make sure y'all get with us. Anything else before I roll up out of here, y'all? I got like 5 minutes. I got to hop in there. I'm probably taking up a dry or something. They ain't have my white kid, so it's Fiji today. But I'm about to bounce up out. And for all my video gamers, I know y'all saw that Elden Ring came out, and that game got 10 out of 10 across the board. So if you were a Demon Souls fan, hop on that. If your children like games and they like RPG games, they're going to like that Elden Ring. And again, here with Urban Nerds, I know children like to spend a lot of time on the video game. One of the things I can teach them how to do is how to make money doing it. So if y'all need help setting that up, you want to know how these people are able to get their green screen set up and all these bangs and effects while their children are playing the game. If they're going to play the damn game and you can't stop them, then whether they do it or not, we should at least expose them to how to make money doing it so they can compete in that world. Okay. And I'm here. That's what the Urban Nerds Gamer shirt is for. I'm here to show y'all how to do that. So get at me if y'all want to know that. Okay. My bad. That's a good point. We do have a GoFundMe. We created the GoFundMe a couple of weeks ago. You go to GoFundMe.com. Just type in Urban Nerds. We're that strong on there. Like, you type in Urban Nerds, it's gonna pop right up. And I believe you're gonna see George's name under it when it pops up. So we already got some funding. We're really trying to build it up so that we can help out our infrastructure. Once we get enough money to do correspondence with the community, then we can blow it up. Okay. But we got to get some more paperwork and stuff in order and some correspondence in order. And then we good to go. Right now, we just got a solid base. So we can interact with y'all to a certain extent. But if we try and go worldwide without proper infrastructure, we're going to get hit hard and can't respond. So we need to be able to do that. My take on the release of the info regarding reverse. I did not go over that. I'll do it quickly, but I should have went over that earlier. It is a different subject. For those of you who don't know, there is a Swedish study that came out that said that the Pfizer vaccine in vitro, they do have some in vivo evidence, but not like the in vitro. In vitro means in a petri dish. In vivo means in the actual body. There is I want to say gene in the liver line called HUH7, HUH7. And that they found out that the vaccine mRNA can reverse transcribe to DNA in that liver cell. So if y'all go to my Instagram, Marvin Health and Arts on Instagram, Marvin Health and Arts, it's all connected. My last post on there shows you what the CDC website said, where it was talking about how the new mRNA vaccines do not alter your DNA. This Swedish study lends to saying that that's not true. And you can swipe. I put all the stuff in there. I put the CDC's quote in there, and I put the Swedish study quote in there. And it shows you that. Now, for those who, I don't want to leave anybody out. If I translate a message from French to English, that's called translation. If I do it backwards, meaning go from English back to French, you can call that reverse transcription. So if I take that same example and do it in the body, it's DNA to DNA to RNA to mRNA, but in the middle, it's DNA. We take DNA and we create RNA. RNA has to be translated, which is tRNA, to become mRNA, which is the message that's created after the translation. When something mRNA, which is a message, is put in your body in some sort of way, if it's reverse transcribed, then it goes from mRNA, reverse transcribed back to regular RNA, and then back into DNA. At that point, the question is, does it get into your genome, which is literally the big ass library of how your body responds to the environment? When you take something foreign and you reverse transcribe it back into someone's genome, it means that some type of environmental stimulus might cause what the virus, so to speak, is created for to express every time you're in that environmental situation. And the problem is it could be random. It could be like, yo, I don't know what it's got to do with anything, but I took a jab from that. It reverse transcribed in my DNA. And because that jab was about expressing the proteins from this thing over here, right? Because it was about that, now every time I eat a banana, I get the symptoms from that thing. See, that's what happens when reverse transcription goes wrong. You reverse transcribe something into someone's body, you don't know what reaction it'll be, and that reaction is at a very unavoidably inopportune moment. Oh man, every time I get in the car, start the car, I get herpes symptoms. That would be having, a DNA virus with herpes symptoms being reverse transcribed into your DNA, where every time you start your car, you express herpes symptoms. So this is the implications of reverse transcribing something foreign into your DNA. So when they said it wouldn't do that, and now we got a study saying that it does that in the liver cells, in vitro, in the Petri dish, there is a quote about it on the bottom about in vivo, but they keep saying they need more info. So what they did was, just so you know, RTP, since you brought it up, I always, if you look at my Instagram page, I always underline the parts you got to be careful about, because they sometimes do it to bait people who are going to start talking shit, just so they can say, see, you jumped too soon. So you gotta be, this one presents an area where it's like you might jump too soon if you start drawing too hard of a conclusion too fast. But I'm glad you brought it up because it was worth noting. So right now there's a study, they haven't knocked it down yet, but we've seen studies that they haven't knocked down for a while, and then later on they change that. So we'll see what happens. But just know they have a clause in there that says we need more info. But in vitro, in the Petri dish, damn right, it reverse transcribed into a liver cell. So that is true. All right. All right. What else we got? I just dealt with this the other day. Yeah. Tarek Energetic, were you the one who originally sent me the message? I think you told me, you commented. I think you were the one who originally sent it to me. I just didn't catch it the day you sent it, because when people send you a message for the first time on Instagram, it doesn't go into the main inbox, and I might have missed it. But he if I'd have got it from him, the post would have been up a couple of days earlier. But yeah. So but yeah, that's that, people. So remember, please support the GoFundMe for Urban Nerds, GoFundMe.com. Type in Urban Nerds Worldwide. But as soon as you put in Urban Nerds, you should see George's name. Click on that. You can see the donations we already have, what we're trying to get to, and that's to help us get the infrastructure so we can truly go worldwide with the message. Peoples, it's been real. I get at y'all in a little bit. If I don't get at y'all anytime this weekend, I'll look for a time next week. When I get to some of my schools early, I like to leave like an hour gap where I could come in and check in with y'all. So until next time, peoples, I will catch you in the next one. Love y'all.